I stood on that landing holding an expensive bouquet, feeling like the biggest fool in Chicago. My own mother had just slammed the door in my face on Mother's Day. But 4 months later, when they crashed my housewarming party and saw my $4 million home, everything changed. What I told them next left them speechless. Let me take you back to where this all started. My name is Patricia, and I'm 32 years old. One phone call from my Aunt Linda changed everything I thought I knew about family. Forgiveness and second chances. Patricia. Sweetheart. Aunt Linda's voice trembled through the phone. I need to talk to you about something important. I had a terrible dream about your parents last night. Isai had, already knowing where this was going. Aunt Linda was the only relative I'd spoken to in years. She knew exactly why I'd cut ties with my parents, my brother Marcus, and my sister Katie 10 years ago. I know you haven't spoken to them in years. But honey, maybe it's time to try and make amends. You're still family. After all, Aunt Linda, I really don't think that's a good idea, I said softly, staring out my apartment window at the Chicago skyline. Just think about it. Sweetheart, Mother's Day is coming up next Sunday. Maybe this could be the right time to reach out. For closure. If nothing else, I had no desire to reopen those wounds. But Aunt Linda had always treated me with genuine kindness and respect. If reaching out would give her peace of mind, maybe I could try one more time. But to understand why this mattered so much, I need to take you back 10 years to the day my family disowned me. I was 22, fresh out of Northwestern University with a finance degree. I'd just landed my dream job as a financial analyst at a prestigious investment firm in downtown Chicago. Life was starting to take shape. I was renting a small apartment in Lincoln Park, working 16-hour days, surviving on coffee and ambition. Then my grandmother died. She was my father's mother. And honestly, the only person in my family who'd ever shown me unconditional love, while everyone else seemed to merely tolerate me. Grandma always made me feel special. Valued. Seen. When the lawyer read her will, we learned she'd left her house and property to her 3 sons, my father Robert and his 2 brothers. They sold everything within a month and split the money. But here's where it gets interesting. Grandma had also left $50,000 to each of her 5 grandchildren, my brother Marcus, my sister Katie, me, and my 2 cousins James and Rebecca. Everything divided equally and fairly among all of us. I remember thinking how generous and thoughtful she was, making sure we all got the same amount, no favorites, no drama, just pure love distributed equally. I was so naive. 3 days after the will reading, my mother called, Patricia, come over for dinner tonight. Let's get the whole family together. Something in her tone should have warned me, but I was 22 and still believed family meant safety. When I arrived at my parents' 3rd-floor walk-up apartment in Oak Park, Marcus and Katie were already sitting at the kitchen table. Their faces were hard as stone. Not a smile. Not a greeting. Just cold stares. Sight down. Patricia, my mother said, sliding a cup of tea across the table to me. We need to discuss something important. I sat down slowly, my stomach already tightening with anxiety. Your sister is getting married in 4 months. She continued. Oh, that's wonderful news. I turned to Katie with genuine happiness. Congratulations, I'm so happy for you. My sister didn't smile. She just stared at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. But there's a problem, my mother said. Weddings are very expensive these days. Then she said the words that would change my entire life. We think you should give your sister your share of the inheritance to pay for her wedding. The kitchen went completely silent. I could hear the refrigerator humming, a car horn outside, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I'm sorry. What Katie needs, a beautiful wedding. My mother continued, as if she were asking me to pass the salt. $50,000 will just about cover the basics, the venue at the country club, the designer dress, the photographer, the flowers, the caterer, everything a bride needs. But that's my money. My voice came out smaller than I intended. Grandma left it to me. Don't be selfish. Patricia. My father's voice cut through the room like a knife. In this family, we help each other. That's how families work. But Marcus got $50,000 too. I protested, looking at my brother, and James and Rebecca. Why should I be the only one who has to give up my inheritance? Because Katie needs it right now. My mother snapped, her face flushing red. She's getting married. You're just working. What do you need $50,000 for anyway? I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. My hands were shaking. No, I'm not giving away my money. That inheritance is from Grandma, and she wanted me to have it. I'm going to invest it in my future. Katie's face turned crimson with rage. You're so greedy and selfish. If you don't give me that money, then you're not invited to my wedding. How do you like that? That's fine, I said quietly, shocked by how quickly this had escalated. But don't blackmail me. Catesy. That's when my father exploded. He shot up from his chair so fast it toppled backward and crashed to the floor. He pointed at the door, his finger shaking with fury. Get out of my house. Get out right now. You selfish, ungrateful girl. I don't want to see your face here ever again. I stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. Are you serious right now? Absolutely serious, my mother said coldly, crossing her arms. Don't come back here until you come to your senses and do the right thing for your sister. I looked at Marcus, hoping for support, for someone to say this was crazy. He just looked away. I grabbed my purse and walked out. As I closed the door behind me, I heard my mother say, she'll come crawling back in a few days. But I didn't, and they weren't bluffing. After that terrible night, not a single person from my family called me. Not once. Not for birthdays. Not for holidays. Not to check if I was alive or dead. I waited for weeks, thinking surely someone would calm down and apologize. Surely my father didn't really mean I wasn't his daughter anymore. Surely this was just a terrible fight that would blow over. But my phone stayed silent. I tried reaching out. I sent birthday texts. Happy birthday. Mom? I love you. Happy birthday. Dad? Hope you're well. Happy birthday. Marcus? Happy birthday. Catesy? Every single message went unanswered. Not even a thank you. Just emptiness. After 6 months of being completely ignored, I finally stopped trying, and I made a decision that would change my life forever. I took Grandma's $50,000 and instead of letting it sit in a savings account, I did something bold. I invested it in a healthcare technology startup that had just launched a telemedicine platform with innovative diagnostic features. I spent weeks researching, reading their business plan, meeting with the founders, asking tough questions. I believed in their vision. 5 years later, that startup went public on the NASDAQ. My $50,000 had turned into $750,000. I stared at my brokerage account, unable to believe what I was seeing. This was real money, life-changing money, and it was all mine. But I didn't stop there. I took a portion of those profits and invested in an American AI company focused on natural language processing and machine learning. I kept working at the investment firm, getting promoted twice, building my expertise, but I was also strategically growing my personal portfolio. I invested in municipal bonds for stability, real estate investment trusts for passive income, I diversified. I researched. I stayed disciplined. 5 years after that first big win, my total assets reached $3.5 million. $3.5 million. And my family, they had no idea. They didn't know where I lived, where I worked, whether I was struggling or thriving. They'd completely erased me from their lives. Which brings me back to that phone call from Aunt Linda and Mother's Day. I bought the most beautiful bouquet I could find at an upscale Chicago florist, pink roses and white lilies. My mother's favorites. I spent over $200 on those flowers. As I drove to Oak Park, to that same apartment building where I'd grown up, my heart pounded with nervous hope. Maybe 10 years was enough time. Maybe they'd grown, changed. I realized how badly they'd treated me. I climbed the familiar stairs to the third floor. The same chipped paint, the same worn carpet, the same smell of cooking that always filled the hallways. I knocked on the door. My mother opened it. For a split second, I saw a surprise flash across her face. Then confusion. Then her expression hardened into something cold and distant. "What are you doing here? Hi." "Mom." I held out the expensive bouquet, forcing a smile. "Happy Mother's Day. I just wanted to talk. Maybe we could work things out after all this time." She didn't take the flowers. She just stared at them like they were contaminated. Behind her, I could see my father, Marcus, and Katie with her husband. My sister was holding two small children, my niece and nephew, whom I'd never met. I didn't even know their names. "Can I come in?" I asked softly. "Just for a few minutes, please." My mother blocked the doorway with her arm. "You don't belong here anymore. Do you understand me? Now go away." And she slammed the door in my face. The sound echoed through the hallway. I stood there for a full minute, holding that $200 bouquet, feeling like the stupidest person in Chicago. I'd actually believed they might have changed, that maybe, after a decade, they'd show some basic human decency. I was wrong. I drove home through blurry tears and called Aunt Linda. "Oh, Patricia, sweetheart," she said, after I told her what happened. "I'm so sorry. If they're going to treat you like that, maybe it's time to stop trying altogether. You deserve so much better. You're right. I'm done. Aunt Linda. I'm done hoping they'll change." But something shifted in me after that rejection. Instead of feeling defeated, I felt liberated. I had almost $4 million in my investment accounts, and I was still renting. It was time to build something permanent, something that was entirely mine. The next morning, I called a real estate agent. I want a house in the North Shore suburbs, at least 3 bedrooms, half an acre minimum, and it must have a pool. My budget is up to $4.5 million. We spent 3 weeks looking at properties in Wilmette, Winnetka, and Lake Forest. Some were too traditional, some too small, some just didn't feel right. Then I walked into a stunning modern home in a gated Lake Forest community, and I knew immediately: floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a pristine half-acre lot, an open-concept kitchen with a massive marble island, a master suite with a walk-in closet bigger than my first apartment, 2 gorgeous guest bedrooms, and outside, a heated infinity pool that looked like something from a luxury resort. The asking price was $4,200,000. I offered $4 million. Cash. No mortgage. No contingencies. The seller accepted within 2 hours. 3 weeks later, I held the keys to my dream home. Moving day was chaos and joy all mixed together. I'd been collecting furniture and art for years, just waiting for the right space. Designé chairs. Unique lighting fixtures. Contemporary paintings, everything finally had a home. I called Aunt Linda, bursting with excitement. I did it. I bought a house. Patricia, that's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. Sweetheart, I'm throwing a housewarming party next month. Will you come? Absolutely. Can I invite some of the extended family? They'd love to see what you've accomplished. Of course, invite anyone you want. I paused. Just please. Aunt Linda, don't tell my parents. Marcus. Or Katie. I don't want them there. I understand completely. Honey, they don't deserve to celebrate your success. I scheduled the party for a Saturday in March, exactly 4 months after that painful Mother's Day rejection. The day of the party was perfect. 70 degrees. Sunny. Not a cloud in the sky. My house filled with people I genuinely cared about, colleagues from work, friends from Northwestern, Aunt Linda, and various extended family members I'd reconnected with over the years. My cousins James and Rebecca arrived and stood in the foyer with their mouths hanging open. Patricia. This is incredible. James breathed. Looking around at the soaring ceilings and modern design, I had no idea you were doing this well. I honestly thought you were just barely getting by. I smiled. I worked hard and made smart investments. Grandma's 50,000 was the seed that started everything. Rebecca pulled me aside into the kitchen. Away from other guests. Can I ask you something? Of course. She hesitated, then said quietly, Your parents have been telling everyone for years that you have serious problems with alcohol and gambling. They said that's why the family doesn't talk to you. I nearly dropped my champagne glass. They said what? Yeah. At every family gathering, they say, Poor Patricia became an alcoholic and gambles away everything on sports betting and online casinos. It's so tragic. We tried to help, but she pushed us away. They've been saying this for years. Patricia. My hands started shaking. That's not true. Not even remotely true. I've never had a drinking problem. And I've never gambled a single dollar in my life. I figured, Rebecca said gently, looking at you now, at this house, at how put together and successful you are, their story never made sense. My parents had spent 10 years destroying my reputation with the entire extended family. They'd made me out to be a degenerate loser to justify cutting me off, to paint themselves as victims of a troubled daughter instead of the cruel people who disown their child over money. So what really happened? Rebecca asked. I took a deep breath and told her everything: the inheritance, the demand that I give it to Katie, the disownment. Oh my God, she whispered. That's horrible. Let's not ruin the party with old drama, I said, straightening my shoulders. Come on, let's go enjoy ourselves. The party was in full swing around 4 o'clock. People were laughing by the pool. The caterers were serving amazing food. Music played softly in the background. I felt genuinely happy, surrounded by people who loved me for who I was. Then came the pounding on my front door. Violent, aggressive pounding that made several guests jump. I opened the door, and my stomach dropped. My entire family stood there. My mother, father, Marcus, and Katie, their faces twisted with rage. What kind of show is this? My mother shouted, pushing past me into my foyer. Why weren't we invited? We're your family. Because when I showed up on Mother's Day with flowers, you slammed the door in my face, I said calmly, though my heart was racing. Remember, my father looked around my house, his eyes wide with shock. And greed. Definitely greed. Where the hell did you get money for a place like this? He demanded. This must have cost millions. That's none of your business. My mother's face flushed crimson. You've been lying to us for years. You pretended to be poor, but you had money this whole time. Only rich people can afford mansions like this. The entire party had gone silent. Every single guest was watching this scene unfold. The size of my bank account is none of your concern, I said firmly. Now leave. Immediately. But my mother wasn't done. She spotted James and Rebecca and marched toward them. "You two need to talk sense into her," she yelled. "Patricia abandoned her family for no reason. She's the most selfish person alive. Tell her she needs to help us. I'm going to say this one last time." I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Get out of my house right now, or I'm calling 911. My father started to argue, but Marcus grabbed his arm. They finally left. My mother still shouting about how I thought I was too good for them now. I closed the door, took a deep breath, and turned to my guests with a bright smile. "I'm so sorry about that little drama. Everyone. Family. Right, let's keep celebrating." Most people laughed nervously. The party gradually resumed, though I could see questions in many eyes. Later that night, sitting alone in my living room after everyone left, the truth hit me hard. For 10 years, my parents told everyone I was an alcoholic gambler to justify our estrangement. But the moment they saw I had money, they wanted back in my life immediately. This was never about love, never about family. It was always about money. The next morning, my phone exploded. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails, text messages flooding in. From my mother, "We know you're rich now. You need to share with your family. That's what family does. We raised you." From Katie, "I have a huge mortgage and can barely make payments. You have to help me. I'm your sister, and I'm struggling." From Marcus, "My car is falling apart and my wife is pregnant. I need money for a new vehicle. You're doing so well. You should help your family." I read every message with growing disgust. 10 years of silence. 10 years of lies about me being an alcoholic and a gambler. And now, suddenly, they wanted to be family again. I blocked every single number without responding. A week later, Aunt Linda called. "Patricia, your parents are calling me constantly, trying to get your new phone number. They've called me 20 times this week." "What did you tell them?" "That they had their chance on Mother's Day, and they blew it." "Sweetie, they only want you now because of your money. They don't actually want a relationship with you." "I know. Aunt Linda, thank you for having my back. Always. Honey, you deserve so much better." But blocking their numbers wasn't enough to stop them. 2 weeks later, I was driving home from work around 7 p.m. As I approached my gated community, I spotted a familiar old Honda Civic parked across the street. My parents were sitting inside, watching the entrance. When I pulled up to enter my security code, they jumped out and ran toward my car. "Patricia, we need to talk," my father shouted. I rolled down my window slightly. "No, we don't. I blocked your numbers for a reason. Come on." "Honey," my mother said in a fake sweet voice that made my skin crawl. "We're family. Let's work this out like civilized people. We stopped being family 10 years ago when you kicked me out for not giving Katie my inheritance." I said coldly. "That was so long ago," my father said, attempting to smile. Everyone got emotional. "Water under the bridge." "Right. Let's move forward." "No. You said exactly what you meant. The only reason you're here now is because you found out about my money." My mother's fake smile vanished instantly. "So what if that's true? You're supposed to help your family when you're successful. Where was family when I was 22, and starting my career I shot back? Where was family on Mother's Day when I brought you flowers?" They had no answer. "Get off this property right now, or I'm calling the police. This security gate has cameras recording everything." They left, but their car sat at the end of the street for another hour before finally driving away. A week later, they ambushed me at work. I was walking to my car in the parking garage when all four of them suddenly appeared from behind a concrete pillar. "Patricia." "Wait, please," Marcus called out. I spun around, startled and angry. Are you people insane? This is harassment. How did you even find out where I work? We just want 5 minutes. Casey pleaded, eyes wide, with fake innocence. Just 5 minutes to talk. You had 10 years to talk, I said, my voice echoing in the concrete garage. You chose silence and lies. Now it's my turn to stay silent. We made a mistake. My mother forced out like the words physically hurt her. We're sorry. What exactly are you sorry for? I demanded. For disowning me, for 10 years of ignoring me, for telling everyone I'm an alcoholic gambler, or are you just sorry you didn't know about my money sooner? Everyone stared at the floor. We heard about your investment success. My father tried. That's impressive. You've done well. Without any help from you. Without any support whatsoever. But we're still family. Marcus said, families forgive each other. That's what families do. Families also support each other. I countered, they don't make up vicious lies. They don't kick their own children out over money. You're strangers to me now. Please? Patricia. Katie whimpered, tears forming. I really am struggling with my mortgage. If you could just help a little. Let me be crystal clear. You didn't invite me to your wedding because I wouldn't give you money. You ignored me for 10 years. You destroyed my reputation with lies. And now you want me to pay your mortgage. Do you hear how insane that sounds? I was young and stupid. Casey tried. You're exactly the same. You just need money now. I got in my car and locked the doors. If you contact me again, I'm filing a restraining order. I'm documenting everything. I drove away and never looked back. They never showed up again after that. The harassment left a bitter taste. But it also freed me. My life flourished. My portfolio grew. I started dating Alex, a wonderful software developer I met through friends. When I told him about my family, he was completely supportive. You don't owe them anything, he said firmly. DNA doesn't give people the right to abuse you and then demand money. Sometimes I feel guilty. Y admitted, Patricia, they kicked you out over money, ignored you for 10 years, lied about you being an addict, and only came back when they found out you're rich. You're not being cruel. You're protecting yourself from toxic people. That's healthy. He was right. I started hosting regular gatherings at my house. Aunt Linda came often, bringing relatives I'd reconnected with. We'd barbecue by the pool, gather around the dining table, laugh and share stories. Real family moments built on genuine care. At one dinner, James asked the question everyone was thinking. What really happened between you and your parents? Because the addiction story is obviously false. I told them everything. The inheritance, the demand, the disownment, the decade of lies. That's insane. Rebecca breathed. Over $50,000. They wanted money more than they wanted me. I said simply, and now they only want back in because I'm successful. They don't want a daughter. They want a bank. You're better off without them. James said, I know. I really am. 2 years passed without harassment. My portfolio surpassed $5 million. I got promoted to senior vice president. Alex and I moved in together and started planning our future. At my 35th birthday party, Rebecca pulled me aside with a strange expression. Patricia, Marcus just texted me asking for photos of your party. He says your parents want to see how you're doing. I actually laughed. Tell them if they want to know how I'm doing. They should ask me themselves, like adults. Perfect answer. She grinned. That night, Alex asked me an important question. Do you ever regret cutting them off? I thought carefully. No. My life is so much better without their toxicity. I have real relationships now with people who genuinely care about me. But they're still your family. Blood doesn't make family. I said firmly. Love. support, and respect. Make family. The people here tonight, Aunt Linda, James, Rebecca, you, my friends, they're my real family. They celebrate my success without jealousy, support me without conditions, and love me for who I am, not what I can give them. Several months later, Aunt Linda called with concerning news. Patricia, your father had a heart attack. He's at Northwestern Memorial. He's stable. But I thought you should know. My heart sank despite everything. Is he okay? The doctors say yes. It wasn't too serious. Will you visit him? She asked carefully. He hesitated. Torn between duty and self-preservation. No. If they wanted me in their lives, they've had 10 years to reach out. And not just for money. I understand, sweetheart. 2 days later, my mother called from an unknown number. Your father's in the hospital. You're not coming. He's your father. He stopped being my father when he said I wasn't his daughter anymore. I said quietly. Those were his exact words. He's asking about you. I doubt that if he wanted to see me, he's had a decade to pick up the phone. We were wrong, but we're family. You'll regret not coming. You made your choice 10 years ago. I'm living with my consequences. And you can live with yours. I hung up. Alex found me staring at my phone. What are you feeling? He asked gently. Part of me says I should go. Another part knows they only call when they need something. Trust your instincts. You're protecting yourself. That's not wrong. My father recovered within a week. I didn't visit, and I didn't feel guilty. I realized that even with family, relationships require mutual effort. You can't ignore someone for a decade, spread lies, and then expect them to come running when it's convenient for you. 6 months later, I threw a huge birthday party. The weather was perfect. My house was filled with laughter and love. Rebecca showed me a text from Marcus. Take photos of Patricia's party. Mom and Dad want to see how she's doing. Even now they're spying instead of just calling me like normal people. I said, shaking my head, what should I say? Tell him if they want to know how I'm doing. They should ask me themselves. That night, Alex and I sat by the pool under the stars. Do you ever regret it? He asked. I thought about it seriously. No. My life is infinitely better without their drama. I have real relationships now, with people who genuinely care. They're still your blood family, though. Blood doesn't make family. I said, love, support, and respect make family. The people who were here tonight, they're my real family. 3 years have passed since that dramatic housewarming. My parents occasionally try to reach me through relatives, but they've never sincerely apologized or shown genuine interest in me as a person, only in what I can give them. I'm done feeling guilty about protecting myself even from family. Last month, Alex and I got engaged. We're planning an intimate wedding next spring with only people who truly matter. Aunt Linda cried happy tears. James and Rebecca are in the wedding party. My colleagues threw me a surprise engagement party. My career thrives. I'm now senior vice president with a 7-figure portfolio. I mentor young women in finance, helping them build success. My home is filled with love, laughter, and genuine relationships. We host monthly gatherings, and every time I walk through my door, I feel grateful. I've finally found real peace. If I could go back to that kitchen table 10 years ago, I'd tell myself, stand your ground. Refusing their demands will be the hardest thing you've ever done. You'll cry, doubt yourself, wonder if you're selfish, but you're not. You're setting boundaries and respecting yourself. 10 years from now, you'll own a beautiful home bought with your own money, surrounded by people who love you for who you are, not what you can give them. The family that chooses money over you doesn't deserve a place in your future. Let them go. Build your own family based on respect, love, and support. You'll be more than fine. You'll be happy. Being disowned was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to become independent, to rely on myself, to build something from nothing. My biological family wanted $50,000 more than they wanted me. I took that $50,000 and turned it into millions. But more importantly, I turned that rejection into freedom. Freedom to build the life I wanted, with people I chose, on my own terms. That's the real success story. If you're going through something similar, remember this. You don't owe anyone access to your life, success, or peace, not even family. Protect your boundaries. Invest in yourself. And surround yourself with people who genuinely care. Your future self will thank you. Story 2. My name's Ethan. I'm 22. And last Tuesday, my parents disinherited me with a single notarized letter. It arrived in a crisp white envelope. My full name typed in cold black ink. Due to your continued irresponsible decisions, you are hereby removed from the family trust. This action is final. Both signatures were neat, unshaking. I'd expected it for months. Knowing didn't soften the cut. For as long as I can remember, Olivia has been the golden child. She could stumble into Thanksgiving late and laughing. Mascara smudged, and they'd glow like she'd brought sunshine. If I showed up 5 minutes late from work, I was unreliable. When Olivia quit grad school after 1 semester, they bought her a brand new Lexus to reset. When I graduated law school with honors, they mailed a Hallmark card and a $200 check. Dad actually said, "Don't get used to handouts." It wasn't just the big moments. It was the pattern. There was the $4. $500 overdraft after her L. A. Spree. I heard Mom on the phone. "Don't cry. Sweetheart. Family helps family. We'll cover it." Weeks later, when I asked for a $1, $200 bridge loan for bar prep, Dad snapped. "Figure it out like an adult." When my first apartment flooded, I begged them to co-sign a new lease. "That's life," Dad said. "Toughen up." 6 months later, they wired Olivia $6. $800 for a wellness retreat in Bali because she was burnt out. I told myself it didn't matter. I didn't need their approval. But the small cuts added up. The worst was Thanksgiving. I brought Jordan, a Marine veteran our nonprofit had just housed. He wore a thrift day store suit, 2 sizes too big, hands shaking as he carried a pumpkin pie. Olivia breezed in 20 minutes late, complaining about first class. Dad hugged her first, then spotted Jordan and pulled me into the pantry. "I don't want those people here," he hissed. "This charity obsession ends now, or you're out." Those people. Something in me cracked. Still, I clung to hope. In 2 years, we'd helped over 200 veterans into housing. Surely they'd see it. Surely something would shift. The letter proved otherwise. What they didn't know was that I had been preparing for this day for 3 years. During law school, I interned at a boutique trusts and estates firm. When my parents restructured the trust after selling their tech company, I read every line. On page 14, section 5B. I found it. In the event of exclusion, all management rights over real estate assets transfer to the excluded party until the court resolves the dispute. Their lawyer drafted it sloppily, assuming it would never be tested. Before signing, I added a precise handwritten amendment. Real estate includes all residential and commercial properties held by the trust, with full authority over rents, solace, and licenses. I initialed it. No one noticed. For 3 years, I absorbed the jabs, the lectures about wasted potential. I waited, patient, certain. So when the envelope finally came, I didn't panic. I opened my filing cabinet, slid out the trust copy, and ran a finger over my initials on Section 5B. Then I called Madison, my old law school roommate. "Is that clause still binding?" I asked. She skimmed, then let out a low whistle. "Ethan, it's ironclad. Do you realize what this means? You now control $22 million in property." That was the first time I smiled that day. I should have seen it coming when Dad said family helps family, but only when family meant Olivia. This time, the rules would help me, because what they thought was punishment was the beginning of my revenge. The morning after the letter, I sat at my tiny kitchen table with my laptop open, a chipped mug of coffee growing cold. My hands trembled not from fear, but from the weight of what I was about to do. I typed an email to the property management company my parents had used for years. Per Section 5B of the trust agreement, all management rights are now under my authority. Effective immediately. All rental payments should be redirected to my account. Any licenses, leases, or sales require my signature only. Please confirm receipt. I added the scanned clause with my initials. Hit send. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A reply confirmed. "We'll update records today." Just like that. 180美元. 000. A month in rental income shifted into my hands. By noon, I had signed 3 transfer forms. Tenants in luxury condos across the city, people who'd never even heard my name, were now wiring money to my account. And it wasn't just the condos. My parents' prized commercial strip downtown, the one with the overpriced wine shop and boutique gym, mine to oversee. I should have been giddy. Instead, I felt a strange calm, like standing in the eye of a storm. 20 minutes later, my phone lit up. "Dad." I let it ring once, twice, then answered. "You little bastard." He spat before I could speak. "You can't do this." "Check Section 5B. I said evenly. "Peterson will fix this." "Funny," I said, because Peterson already notarized it 3 years ago. For a moment, all I heard was his breathing, heavy, controlled fury. Then he hung up. It didn't take long for Olivia to call. Her number flashed across the screen, paired with a smiling photo of us from a decade ago. Back when I still believed we were on the same team. "Ethan, what did you do?" Her voice was syrupy at first. "Fake, sweet. I enforced my rights. You don't understand. I need access to the Soho loft. My brand partnership shoots there next week." I almost laughed. "It's still there. But now you'll need my approval." Silence. Then, a sharp inhale. "Don't play games. Dad will crush you. He always does." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe he already lost." She hung up without another word. For as long as I can remember, Olivia had coasted on that loft. She never paid rent. Never worried about bills, influencer parties, designer clothes littered across the marble floors, late-night DJ sets that rattled the walls. Now she couldn't even schedule a photo shoot without my say-so. That night, I returned to the building with the 24-hour inspection notice already served. Luis accompanied me. The master key, sign-out logged. We entered during management hours, turned on a body cam, documented the condition, and left 20 minutes later. The place reeked of champagne and perfume. Empty bottles lined the counter. A $3, 200 Prada coat lay crumpled on the floor. I picked it up, draped it over a chair. and noticed a stack of unpaid parking tickets shoved under a coffee table, $1. 475. Worth. Typical Olivia. Consequences had never touched her. Until now. Back at my apartment, I pulled out my phone and drafted an email, this time to Olivia. Starting next month, the loft will be on a month-to-month license with a license fee of $7. Wubei. To do on the first toplet. All shoots divided by events must be scheduled through property management, no exceptions. Within minutes, she replied, "Are you insane? Family doesn't charge family." I typed back, "Family doesn't cut family out of a trust. From now on, any use of trust property follows the license and the management schedule." That was the first night I slept soundly in weeks. But beneath the satisfaction, there was an unease I couldn't shake. What I didn't know was that Olivia and my parents weren't just going to fight me in court. They were already plotting something far more dangerous. I should have seen it coming when I found a folded note slipped under my apartment door the next morning. 3 words, scrawled in angry handwriting. "This isn't over." The note sat on my doormat like a tiny bomb. "This isn't over." I slipped it into a plastic sleeve, dated it, and took a photo with my phone. Documentation first. Feelings later. By noon, my phone was a siren. Missed calls from Dad. From Mom. From an unknown number that turned out to be Peterson's assistant. I ignored them all until Louisa Bai, the doorman at the Soho building, texted me a photo, Olivia filming on the sidewalk. A ring light balanced on a trash can. 2 assistants fussing with her hair. 10 minutes later, the reel hit her page. "Hey? Fam," she began. Eyes glossy. Voice wobbling just enough. "My brother is trying to evict me from my creative space. He's weaponizing a technicality to steal from our family and from small businesses that rely on this building." She added a slide with bold red text, "Charity money," then a screenshot of a bank statement with my nonprofit's name blurred. The words "misused funds" stamped across the image like a verdict. It took me exactly 4 seconds to recognize the statement. It was real, but from 18 months ago, when our landlord misapplied a rent credit and we'd moved the balance to a different account, it had been cleared within 48 hours. Olivia knew none of that. She didn't care. The point was to smear first. Clarify, never. Comments poured in. Disgusting if true. Family doesn't do family like that. Receipts, or it didn't happen. Receipts. I could do. I opened a new folder, labeled Olivia Defamation, and dragged in the real statements. The corrected ledger. The email from the landlord time-stamped at 9:13 M. Apologizing for their error. I wrote a short, measured response from the nonprofit account, attached the documents, and posted, "Misinformation harms the people we serve. Here are the facts." No adjectives. No rage. Just proof. Madison called as I hit send. Saw the reel. Classic open with tears. Close with accusation. "I'm drafting a cease and desist. Also, check your policies for brand defamation. Her sponsors won't love this." She thinks public pressure will scare me. I said, "She thinks anything will work if it worked before." Madison said, "We file. We warn sponsors. We keep receipts. Also expect a visit." From who? People who wear nice shoes and ask bad faith questions. She was right. At 2:10 p.m., 2 men in pressed navy suits walked into the nonprofit. One flashed a business card from a reputation management firm. The other didn't introduce himself at all. "We're here as a courtesy." Navy suit said, "Would be a shame if donors got nervous." Donors, like who I asked. He smiled at the wall behind me. where we kept a corkboard covered in Polaroids, veterans holding apartment keys, crooked smiles under fluorescent light. One photo always made me pause. Jordan, in his too big suit, clutching his lease like a ticket out of a fire. Like anyone who cares about optics, Navy suit said, if you issue a public apology to your parents and sister, we can help shape the narrative. The narrative, I repeated. Family reconciliation. A learning moment. Maybe a joint video. I let a beat stretch until it snapped. No. The second man finally spoke. Low and smooth. You'll regret that. I wrote their names down as they left. Spelling matters when you file things. Within 24 hours, the pressure widened. A city inspector appeared at my office with an anonymous complaint about unsafe food storage. He poked every fridge and clicked every label gun. Our walk-in smelled like cumin and hope. Everything's clean, he said finally. Almost apologetics. Someone clearly doesn't like you. Someone, I said, has always liked her more. That night, Mom called. She didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She sighed. Ethan. Sweetheart. She began. Soft as steam. We're worried about you. There it was. The velvet glove over the blade. You're isolating yourself. She continued. These choices, the charity, the drama online. Your father didn't sleep last night. He didn't sleep because he lost control. I said. She tutted. Don't be so dramatic. Olivia is under tremendous stress. Her brand is her livelihood. So, is housing people? I said a fair fee. Mom, I asked for accountability. Olivia needs stability. She said, you always had rules. Can't you bend just this once? For family? I bent for years. I said, it never broke her fall. Only mine. Silence hummed between us. The kind that used to make me back down. She switched tactics. We'll pay you a stipend, she said. Bamayan. 000, a month for a year. You return management to us. We keep the peace. I stared at the fake fern by my desk. Desk clung to the top fronds like frost. So I sell out the people depending on us, so Olivia can keep a discounted selfie studio. Don't be cruel, she snapped. Mask slipping. You owe us better than this. There it was, the real script. You owe us. I owe the law, I said. And my conscience. She hung up. By Friday, Olivia's reel had hit AIM. 2 million views. She posted a follow-up from the loft kitchen, crying next to a bowl of limes and a $600 blender. He raised the fee to $7. Woo bae, she said, as if reading a ransom note. Who does that to their own sister? The comments sharpened, but something new flickered in them. Questions? People asking for the other side. People scrolling back and noticing a pattern, her trips. Her unboxing of $2. 100 boots. Her caption last month. Can we normalize parents supporting adult children that had aged poorly overnight? Small victory. Not the war. I kept moving. I met with the property manager, a weary man named Carlos, who'd been wrangled by my parents for a decade. They never let me fix the elevators unless a tenant's lawyer called, he said, running a thumb over the edge of his clipboard. You actually authorize repairs. People pay for a safe home. I said, let's give them one. I signed work orders totaling $26. 700 elevator cables. Security lights. Pest control in 2 older buildings. My parents like to photograph but never maintain. money in, money out for the right things. Carlos hesitated at the door. One more thing. Your sister tried to hand me an envelope. For coffee, she said. He mimed a small stack with his fingers. Felt like 1,000. Did you take it? He looked offended. I took her envelope and put it in the outgoing mail. Addressed to you. When it arrived that evening, I opened it over my kitchen sink. Crisp hundreds. No noche? I slid the money into a larger envelope stamped evidence. Then wrote a memo to file attempted inducement to influence property decisions, return to sender. I was learning. Every move. Recorded. Every conversation. Summarized. Madison's voice lived in my head. If it isn't written, it didn't happen. Saturday. Just past dawn. My office door was ajar. I was sure I'd locked it. I pushed it open with my foot. Nothing had been stolen. Nothing obvious. Anyway, but someone had been there. The bowl of green glass marbles on my desk left over from a therapy group project had been scattered across the carpet like small mint planets. In the middle of the desk sat a single mustard packet, bright yellow. Cheap diner brand. It was so absurd my brain refused it at first. Then, like a Polaroid clearing, it clicked. Thanksgiving. Dad's fridge. 5 kinds of imported mustard. Labels facing forward, like trophies. He used to boast. Details matter. Presentation matters. He'd said it to me the night he told me to toughen up. Same tone. Same smug correctness. A message. Then, from who Olivia for the drama, Dad for the symbolism, Mom for the cruelty cloaked as care. I crouched and collected the marbles one by one, breathing slow. I bagged the mustard in a Ziploc. I noted the time and filed a police report online. Petty, maybe, but patterns prove antin. At noon, a tenant from the older brick building called me. Urgent. There's a man walking the halls telling people not to pay you, she said. He says the real owner will be back soon. Did he give a name? I asked. Just said family. Tall, blue blazer. He stuck flyers under our doors. She paused. I'm a nurse. I know a predator when I see one. I drove over. The foyer smelled like lemon cleaner and history, paint peeled from the stair railings in long sun-bleached curls. A flyer lay near the mailboxes, trust dispute. Hold rent, divided by payments until resolved. Signed. Management. No letterhead. No signature. Nothing but a cheap font and entitlement. Carlos met me at the door with a stack he'd collected. They got to 3 floors. He said, I've pulled what I can. We taped a clear, the factual notice in the lobby with the clause text and my contact. We included Madison's office number. We listed the court docket for the motion hearing, already calendared for the 15th. Paper versus paper. Facts versus audacity. As we posted the last notice, I felt eyes on my back. I turned. A man stood outside, half in shadow, watching through the glass. He wasn't Dad or Peterson. He was younger, wiry, with a scar nicking his eyebrow. He lifted his phone, snapped a photo, then melted into foot traffic like a rumor. My phone buzzed. A new text from an unknown number. No words, just the photo he'd taken. Me. Taped notice in hand. A second later, a follow-up image, my apartment door. Shot at night. My welcome mat crooked, as if nudged by a shoe. My mouth went dry. This wasn't just court strategy anymore. It was personal theater with darker staging. I forwarded the text to Madison with a short note. Stalking. Documenting. What's our next move? She pinged back within a minute. Restraining order paperwork ready. Also donor call Tuesday. They want to help. Help. The word landed like warm bread after a week of vending machine snacks. That evening, I sat in the Soho loft again while the city breathed outside the windows. The place felt different now, emptier, as if the walls had stopped applauding Olivia's performance. I opened the fridge. Coconut water. Half a lime. 6 different jars of gourmet mustard. All aligned, like little soldiers. I stared until my reflection in the glass lids blurred. I should have seen you coming. I said to the jars. To the room. To the version of me who kept hoping kindness would be returned. My phone vibrated on the counter. Atzalender alert. Hearing prep with Madison tomorrow at 9:00 a.m. I turned off the lights, locked the door, and stepped into the hallway. Downstairs. Luis looked up from his stool. Everything okay? Mr. Ethan. Not yet. I said, but we're getting there. Outside. A black SUV idled with its lights off. When I glanced its way, the engine purred and the car slid into traffic. I memorized the plate by rhythm. 2 letters. 3 numbers. 1 letter. I typed it into my notes app, then walked toward the subway. The city air cold enough to bite. What I discovered the next morning made the flyers, even the mustard feel like a warm-up, because waiting in my inbox was a legal threat that could cost me everything, not just the properties, but the nonprofit itself. And the signature at the bottom wasn't Peterson's. It was Olivia's. The email hit at 6:41 a.m. Subject line, Notice of Intent to Seek Injunctive Relief. Sender, Olivia. Ray Studios. LLC. Signature Olivia. She wasn't using mom or dad's lawyer. She'd hired a PRE-friendly firm with razor fonts and colder hearts, Halden and Pierce. The letter accused me of landlord harassment, conversion, and tortious interference with business expectancies. They wanted a temporary restraining order, my removal as manager, and $500. No inch damages. They attached glossy screenshots of her crying reel, like it was evidence. At the bottom, in her own pen, you never wanted me to shine. Now you'll pay to watch. I stared at the screen until the coffee went gray. Then I forwarded everything to Madison. She called 2 minutes later. Okay. We respond fast and surgical. I'll file an anti-SLAPP on the defamation angle and a motion to affirm your management rights. Also, a restraining order for the stalking. We stay calm. We stack proof. Copy. I said. Ethan. Yeah. Eat something. You argue better with glucose. I cracked a stale granola bar and opened my evidence folder. First, the money trail. I pulled trust ledgers from the last 2 years. 3 entries pulsed like flares. 3/14 consulting fee or collective LLC $38. Ling ling ling. 6/22 staging expenses or collective LLC $19. Lube. Months 122 loft fee posted as $0 with note family concession. Or collective. Olivia Ray. They'd been paying her out of the trust while calling me irresponsible. Next, the loft. Carlos had uploaded a folder labeled Loft Conduct. Videos. Late all night DJs. Bottles on the fire escape. A bragging story of Olivia running short-term rentals on holiday weekends against license. Against code. I clipped the segments, time-stamped them, and wrote a straight affidavit dates. Times. Violations. No adjectives. Luis texted at 9:03. You asked for anything odd. 2 men came by at dawn asking for master keys. Said they were with management. I said no. Cameras caught them. He sent stills. One man had the same nicked eyebrow as the guy from the lobby. I dropped the images into stalking and filed a police report. Incident 23:47. I printed the receipt and slid it into a plastic sleeve. Paper beats panic. By noon, sponsors began to wobble. Olivia posted legal updates between unboxings, calling me a danger to small creators. But the comments weren't lining up the way she wanted. People wanted receipts. So I gave them some carefully from the nonprofit account. I posted a quiet thread, 3 images, no faces, a set of keys, a license agreement with the fee circled in blue pen, a pantry shelf lined with labeled cans. 12 veterans housed this quarter. Your support turns into safe homes. Nothing about Olivia. Everything about purpose. At 1:17 p.m. My desk phone rang. A donor from Queens. We saw the noise. She said, we stand with outcomes. A $50. 000 emergency grant is on the way. Use it to get people home. I thanked her and sat very still after I hung up. For a second I could smell nothing but lemon cleaner and cardstock. Like the air had reset. Then the next move came. A courier slid a thick envelope under my office door. Inside, a tenant declaration accusing me of retaliatory hikes and intimidation. The signature was Olivia's. Again, below hers, a scrawl I didn't recognize. The address listed Unit 4B registered to Olivia Ray Studios. She had filed as her own tenant. Madison laughed when I sent it. She's her own witness. Cute, she said. We'll have fun with that. We met that evening to prep. Her office smelled like printer toner and peppermint tea. She'd spread every exhibit across a long oak table, stickies in traffic-light colors. A paperweight shaped like a little sailboat held down the police report. We lead with the clause, she said, tapping Section 5B I'd initialed years ago. Then structure your notice to management. Their confirmation. Fee redirection. Next, the maintenance orders you approved $26. 700 inches, repairs. Your parents refused for years. Shows good faith. Then the bribery attempt. I said, sliding the envelope of cash. Carlos had mailed me across the table. Nunoache. $1,000 in hundreds. Olivia tried to hand it to him for coffee. All. Madison lifted a brow. We'll call it what it is. She worked the whiteboard. Clause, good faith, their bad faith, harm relief. Simple. Clean. Relentless. The black SUV passed my apartment again that night. Engine low. Lights off. It idled until I stepped to the window. Then rolled away. I typed the plate into my notes app. Again, the same rhythm. 2 letters. 3 numbers. 1 letter. I sent it to the detective, listed on my report. He wrote back, we're aware. Sunday. I did a full audit of the downtown strip. The boutique gym hadn't paid on time since March. The wine shop had a side door used for illegal tastings. I found an email from Dad to Peterson. Let the gym slide. They're Olivia's people. Dated 4 halves. 1014 p.m. I added it to pattern enabling. At noon, Dad showed up at the loft. No call. No warning. He used the old fob he wasn't supposed to have. Luis texted me fast. He's on 17. I met him in the kitchen, where 6 jars of imported mustard stood in a perfect row like soldiers on parade. He didn't say hello. He flicked a jar with his finger. Checking the label faced out. Presentation matters, he said. Safety matters. I answered. Contracts matter. He gave me a long, measured look. You think paper will save you? It's saved you for 20 years. I said, you built a shelter out of paper and called it virtue. He stepped closer. You want a lesson? Fine. We moved profits through Olivia's LLCs to lighten the books. Perfectly legal gray. Everyone does it. You try to drag us. You drag the trust. You drag yourself. I felt my pulse but kept my voice low. Thank you for that statement. I held up my phone. Recording. His eyes flashed. One-party consent. I said, in case you're rusty. He smiled without teeth. You always were a little cop. Responsible. I said, your word was responsible, until it wasn't useful anymore. He put his palm on the mustard line and slid one jar of hair out of place. Here's my prediction, he said. The judge gives us an injunction. Sponsors run from your charity. Your donors dry up. You'll come home the minute the lights turn off. I straightened the jar. My lights don't run on your approval. We stood there in that perfect kitchen with its perfect view and said nothing else. He left without turning his back. Monday. Olivia called. No syrup this time. Take the fee back to 0, and I'll drop the suit. She said, voice flat, this is bad for both of us. You mean for you? I said. She exhaled through her nose. Do you have any idea what a paused campaign costs $80? Ling, ling, ling. That's 1 month. You're burning my career because you hate me. I don't hate you, I said. And I meant it. I hate the system that kept me small so you could feel big. You always had rules. She said quietly, you still think rules will make you loved? I think rules make people safe. She laughed once. Fine. Then play by them. See you in court. She hung up. A minute later, my phone pinged again. WAV file. A recording of my voice from weeks ago. Chopped. So it sounded like I said. We move money around. The timestamp placed it at 1142p. On a night I had been in shelter intake with Jordan. I had photos. Logs. Witnesses. I forwarded it to Madison. She replied, bad edit. Wrong room echo. Wrong HVAC hum. We'll shred it. Then, to a second text. Also, check this. A link. Olivia's sponsor had issued a bland statement about pausing partnerships pending resolution. Her comments turned half sympathy, half side. People were tired. People were noticing who cleaned their buildings and who filmed in them. We prepped late into the night before the hearing. Madison laid out the order again, then capped her marker and looked at me. Last question, she said. If the judge asks what you actually want, not what you're defending, what do you say? I didn't have to think. I want safe buildings. I want the trust obeyed. I want my nonprofit unharassed. And I want my family to stop using me as a scapegoat. She nodded. Good. Truth reads clean. The morning of the hearing. The conference room was a box of glass and low voices. A carafe of coffee sweated on a tray. The fluorescent light hummed like a held breath. Olivia sat across from me in a white blazer, face powdered to perfection, hands shaking under the table. Dad stared at the window. Mom's lips moved like she was praying. Halden and Pierce wheeled in 3 bankers' boxes and a smile. Peterson hovered behind them. Suddenly small. The judge took the head of the table. We'll hear brief openings. Then address the motion for preliminary injunction. Madison's opening was a scalpel. Clause. Good faith. Evidence. No theatrics. Then she slid our thumb drive across the table. We'll also be moving to admit a recording made by MrDebtor.com, David, in which he admits creative accounting through Ms. Olivia's companies. Olivia's lawyer didn't blink. Your Honor, before we address that, we have a threshold issue. The amendment that grants Mr. Ethan management authority is invalid. She planted her hands on the table, nails like tiny knives. It was altered after notarization. She turned. The door opened. A surprise witness stepped in. Tea too tight. Face Polly. It wasn't Peterson. It was the notary. And he was about to swear I'd signed the clause, hours after he stamped it. The notary walked in like a man who'd practiced looking calm in mirrors. Gray suit. Tight smile. Hands folded over a leather folio. He raised his right hand, swore to tell the truth, and started lying. I notarized the packet at 3. He said, hours later. Mr. Ethan returned. He'd added handwriting. I didn't see it at the time. The amendment was not part of what I stamped. Olivia's lawyer nodded like a metronome. So the initials by Section 5B were added after your seal? Yes. My throat went dry. I kept my eyes on the table. On Madison's ink blue pen. She stood. Mr. Landry, you keep a journal. Correct? Yes. Per state law. You recorded the date, time, and document type. Yes. She lifted a plastic sleeve. Court's copy of your journal page for that day. Entry #2681. Time 3:14 p.m. Document. Trust restructure packet. Full set. Signed. Single entry. Any later entries for the same packet. He shifted. No. So. No. 314 p.m. Stamp, and then a 600 p.m. Stamp for a stray page. Silence. Madison slid another exhibit forward. Building lobby video. Timestamp 3:18 p.m. You leave with your briefcase. Our expert captured the system clock drift. It's within 20 seconds. Olivia's lawyer objected. Overruled. Madison didn't raise her voice. Where were you at? 6:07 p.m. that evening. In my office, he said. She clicked a remote. The screen lit with a square photo, a foam finger, a field of lights, a mustard smear, bright as a warning flare. Caption, Let's Go Bombers. Time 6:07 p.m. He stared at his own public post like it had betrayed him. In a way, it had. She let the room breathe. Then, gently, 2 days before your affidavit, or collective wired $5, 500 to your LLC. Memo line. Coffee. Do you want to amend your testimony? He blinked fast. I may have misremembered the timing. Madison capped her pen. No further questions. Halden, Pierce scrambled. They asked about the thickness of the packet, the angle of signatures, the philosophy of staplers. It didn't land. Paper has a way of telling the same story no matter how you shake it. Then it was our turn. We walked the judge through the clause, the clean email trail to management, the $26, 700 inches repairs I'd approved, the envelope of cash Olivia had tried to pass to Carlos, bagged and labeled evidence, the flyers telling tenants to withhold payment, the stalking text with my door and frame, the police report number. Madison played the recording of my father, his voice cool, and certain profits lightened through Olivia's LLCs to keep the books pretty. Dad leaned back, one ankle on his knee, eyes on the ceiling tiles. Anyone else would have looked cornered. He looked bored. Olivia's lawyer tried to rehabilitate her with a tenant declaration. Madison handed the judge the paperwork showing the occupant of 4B was Olivia Ray Studios, LLC. Fee $0 by family concession. The judge's eyebrows rose a millimeter. In judge language, that's a gasp. We ended clean. We're not here to fight over feelings. Madison said, we're here to show the clause is valid. Management was transferred, and my client acted in good faith while being harassed. We asked the court to deny the injunction, affirm his authority, and issue a limited protective order. The judge took a long breath like she was tasting the air. We'll take 10 minutes. 10 minutes is a long time when your life is suspended. I stared at the carafe sweating on the credenza, at the tray of paper cups, at the reflection of my face in the glass older than 32 today. Mom whispered into her phone. Olivia shook a pill into her palm and swallowed dry. Dad checked his watch and smiled at nothing. The judge returned. She didn't drag it out. Injunction denied, she said. Clause 5B is clear. Mr. Ethan retains management authority pending final resolution. Ms. Olivia's counsel will refrain from extrajudicial statements designed to influence proceedings. The court refers Mr. Landry's testimony to the district attorney for review. Additionally, due to credible evidence of stalking and interference, the court enters a temporary protective order. Parties will not contact Mr. Brazen. Ethan outside counsel. No unscheduled building entries. No flyers. Violations will be sanctioned. Paper. Gavel. Air leaving lungs all over the room. Halden and Pierce asked to be heard. The judge had already stood. Olivia looked at me like I'd personally unplugged the sun. Mom's face crumpled, then smoothed into a practiced neutrality. Dad placed 2 fingers on the table as if testing whether it was still there. He waited until the room emptied to step close. Enjoy your little win, he said softly. You think you're safe because you have a judge. Judges rotate. Money doesn't. I have more than a judge, I said. I have records. And I have time. He smiled. But his eyes were not smiling. Time is our game. Son. I glanced at the mustard row on the credenza. Catering had laid out little packets next to the sandwiches. I was the only one who noticed the joke the universe kept telling. We left the building. Outside, the black SUV idled with its lights off. A uniformed officer stood near the curb. Arms folded. He watched it roll away and made a note on his pad. I felt the knot between my shoulders loosen a degree, back at the nonprofit. The staff had taped a paper banner to the wall. Welcome home. Someone had drawn keys with tiny smiley faces. In the pantry, labels faced forward. Dates in thick black marker. It was the opposite of the mustard shrine order that meant people ate. I told the team the news in plain words. No gloating. They cheered anyway. Then we went back to intake. A woman named Elena came in with a plastic bag and 2 kids under 7. We found them a room for the night. We ordered pizza. The heater rattled like an old bus. At 10, my phone buzzed. A private number. I almost let it go to voicemail. I didn't. Dad, we can end this, he said. Walk away from management. We'll donate a ling 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 000 to your nonprofit. No conditions on how you spend it. Think about what that buys. I pictured elevators that don't trap grandmothers. Keys in trembling hands. A year of leases. Hope that isn't rationed. He heard my silence and pressed. It's not even real money to you. You hate it because it's ours. This way, it's yours and theirs. You're offering to do the bare minimum decently for once. I said, and only if I make you comfortable. Call it a peace offering. Put it in writing. I said, on her letterhead, with no strings, and understand this whether you send it or not. I'm not giving back control. He exhaled through his nose. You were always ungrateful. I was always useful. I said, those aren't the same. He hung up. 2 minutes later, a text came from an unknown number. A photo, the inside of a trunk lit by a camera flash, banker boxes labeled Orc Archives, Peterson Billing, Loft Rent. On top of the boxes, a single jar of Dijon. Label turned to face the lens like a dare. The GPS tag at the corner of the image pinged a familiar address. My parents' house. Another message followed. No words. Just a pin-side garage. Tomorrow. Noon. Trap, maybe. Gift. Also maybe. I forwarded the photo to Madison. Your call? I wrote. She replied in seconds. We go. With a witness. With a body cam. With a cop on notice. Gloves. Chain of custody forms. I rinsed a coffee mug and set it upside down on the rack. The office was quiet now. The banner drooped a little on one corner. I fixed the tape. I lay on the couch in my tiny office and watched light from the hallway pool under the door. I thought about being 8 and lining up my crayons to make the world make sense. I thought about being 28 and realizing rules don't keep you safe if no one else has to follow them. I thought about a trunk full of papers sitting in a garage that smelled like wax and old victories. What I discovered in that trunk would end the part of my life where I negotiated with people who loved their reflection more than their sun. Tomorrow. I'd lift the lid. Tomorrow came fast. At 1150A. M. Madison parked across from my parents' house. Carlos rode shotgun as our neutral witness. A patrol car idled half a block away. The officer already had our incident number and the judge's protective order. I clipped on a body cam. Madison handed me nitrile gloves and chain of custody forms. Slow and precise. She said, no speeches. We took the side path. The garage door was half open like a mouth mid-argument. Wax and cut grass hung in the air. A gray SUV sat inside. Trunk closed. A single jar of Dijon perched on top, label staring at me like an eye. Of course. I time-stamped photos. Gravel pushed into my soles. Heart steady. The officer stood at the threshold. Arms folded. Proceed, he said. I lifted the trunk. Hinges squeaked. Cold air spilled over cardboard. 3 banker boxes. Orc Archives. Peterson Billing. Loft Rent. A 4th sat unmarked. All taped. None sealed. We photographed every side and angle. Carlos read each label aloud, for the record. We opened Loft Rent first. Licenses. Amendments. A highlighted spreadsheet. Family concession typed next to $0 for 30 months. A second sheet listed short-term guest stays New Year's, Fashion Week, 2 holiday weekends. Cash totals circled. In Dad's unmistakable hand, deposit to Orr Collective. Next. Peterson Billing. Envoice. Side memos. An email in Peterson's clip tone regarding 5B. Text broad but harmless. Highly unlikely to trigger. Dad's reply. Note for future narrow. Dated the week after we signed. Recognition. Not fear. Made my hands shake. We cracked Orc Archives. Sponsor contracts. Wire confirmations. A ledger of consulting payments from the trust into Olivia's LLC, each quarter $38. Ling ling ling. 19美元. Lubei. 14美元. 250. Memo fields that tasted metallic in my mouth. Family optimization. Image alignment. Madison tapped the unmarked box. Moment of truth. I slit the tape with my key. Inside a copy of a notary logbook. Pages flagged. Receipts. A cashier's check stub from Ore Collective to Landry Mobile Notary for $2. Wube. A yellow note. Coffee. 3. THTS. O. Beneath it, a template declaration with blanks filled by hand. Samet Ben. Same pressure. A zip bag of loose keys lay beside them. Up top, a Soho fob I'd already deactivated. Gravel crunched behind us. Get away from my property, Dad said. The officer stepped forward. Sir, there's a protective order. 10 feet. No, direct contact. Dad stopped exactly at the tape line on the floor. He stared at the boxes like they had betrayed him. Trust records, Madison said evenly. Subject to preservation. We're documenting and sealing for law enforcement. He laughed once. It's paper. Paper bends. Not today, I said. Mom slid in beside him, fingers tight on his sleeve. Ethan. Sweetheart. This is a misunderstanding. Put those down and come inside. We can talk like family. We are talking, I said. Just not in your kitchen. Her eyes flicked to the mustard jar. She understood the message. She always had. Olivia's voice came from the driveway. This is illegal, she said. Phone already up. I'll go live. Everyone will see you stealing. Go live, Madison said without looking up. Say hi to Exhibit A. The officer radioed the investigator on my stalking case. 10 minutes later, a nondescript sedan rolled up. A woman with a tight bun and calm eyes ducked under the door. Detective Lynn, she said. Let's do it clean. We walked her through each box. She photographed, logged, and sealed them with evidence tape, numbering every seam. We all cross-signed the seals and the chain of custody log on site. Every strip of tape got a close-up photo for later verification. Boring. Bulletproof. Dad didn't blink. Feel big, he murmured when the detective stepped out to call the DA. Feel like a man now that you've embarrassed your family. No, I said. I feel like a manager doing his job. He smiled without warmth. You always mistake rules for love. And you always mistake control for care, I said. We opened a thin folder at the bottom of the unmarked box. Color printouts. The black SUV's plate, attached to invoices from a private security firm. Paid through Peterson's trust account. Notes night drive-bys. Soft pressure at nonprofit. Reputation advisory. A photo of my apartment door with a timestamp. Cold slid across my skin. Detective Lynn bagged those herself. This crosses lines, she said. I'm escalating. She closed the trunk and sealed it. Handed me a receipt. Handed Dad a notice preserving all remaining records under threat of spoliation. He didn't take it. Mom did. David, she whispered. Enough. He looked at her like she'd switched languages. We left. Sun hit my face like a clean sheet. The officer gave me a small nod as we passed. By late afternoon. The DA had the boxes. Madison filed a supplemental brief. The judge set a status conference for Friday. Halden. Pierce went silent. Peterson resigned by email at 6:03 p.m. One line, effective immediately. The next week moved like wet cement and lightning at once. The DA opened 2 inquiries, witness tampering and fraudulent conveyance. Landry flipped fast. Produced texts. Name and names. Gave dates. Cried. Madison let him talk. The court appointed a neutral co-trustee to sit beside Dad for all decisions. The co-trustee immediately moved to suspend him, pending outcome. The judge agreed. Temporary removal. Bond posted. Inventory ordered. Olivia stared at the floor while the clerk read the terms. Mom swallowed and watched the door. Sponsors stepped back from Olivia's brand. Some posted careful statements. Others scrubbed quietly. She tried a Notes app apology. It lasted 4 hours. Then vanished. Tenants paid on time. We finished the elevator repairs. We fixed stair lights. We contracted a real security company with uniforms and background checks. Pest control sent before and after photos. I printed them and filed under boring but vital. At the nonprofit, the emergency grant cleared. Then 2 small donations. Then 3 larger ones. People were tired of outrage. They wanted outcomes. We moved 5 more veterans into clean apartments that month. Jordan brought coffee to intake and hugged me so hard my ribs complained. Elena texted a photo of her kids in new pajamas on a real couch. No filters. Just light. Near the end, Mom called. I let it ring twice. Then answered. I didn't know about the car. She said. About the watching. You didn't want to know. I said. She breathed. Uneven. Is there a path back? To what? To us. There's a path forward. I said. With rules? No surprise visits. No name calling. No money moving through Olivia's companies. Text before calling. And you don't ask me to be smaller so she can be bigger. She was quiet a long time. I can try. Trying is a start. I said, I'm not promising more. Understood, she whispered. A week later, Olivia requested a meeting at the loft with the co-trustee present. She arrived in a baggy sweater. No eyeliner. For the first time, she looked her age. I can't pay, Shapta. Wube, she said to the floor. Not now. Then you can't stay, I said, but we can make a gentle exit. We built a plan. 60 days. Showings 2 afternoons a week. A professional crew to pack. No live streams. No scenes. She nodded. She found a smaller place across the river, good light, creaky floors. She didn't post the keys. The sale closed a month later. The trust booked a clean profit. Part went to long-ignored maintenance across 3 buildings. Part into reserve. Part legally and openly into a housing fund. Co-trustee sign-off. Fully auditable. Dad skipped the closing. He sent a letter through new counsel, warning that this asset will be reclaimed. The co-trustee filed it like weather. At the final hearing, the judge made the temporary orders permanent until the DA finished. She praised repairs, scolded the flyers, set review in 6 months. Outside. The building smelled like floor cleaner and paper. Madison grinned at me for the first time since this started. You did it, she said. We did. I said. We stood on the steps and watched a delivery bike weave through traffic. My phone buzzed. Luis had texted a photo. The new elevator panel gleamed like a mirror. That night, the team threw a tiny party in the break room. Paper plates. Grocery store cupcakes. A banner someone lettered with a marker. Keys is greater than clout. Jordan made a toast. Half thank you. Half joke about my label obsession. Everyone laughed. I cried for a minute in the pantry, where no one could see. Later, I walked home. The air was cold and honest. A corner deli glowed like a lighthouse. I bought water and a small jar of cheap mustard just to make myself smile. Habit now. A memory with the edges sanded down. In my kitchen. I lined it on the shelf next to pasta and beans. Not a shrine. A reminder. Here's what I know now. Rules don't love you. People do. But rules can protect you from people who don't. power isn't a roar. It's a paper trail, a fixed light, a lock that works. Family isn't a prize you win by staying small. It's a choice you make with people who keep their word. I chose, if you've stayed this long, tell me, did I go too far? Or not far enough? Have you ever had to set rules with your own family? What would you have done differently? Drop it in the comments. And if you're watching this from a place with a stuck elevator or a leaky ceiling, I see you. Hit like, share this, and come back next week. I've got keys to hand out. Story 3. My name's Nora. I'm 21, and last night my parents erased me with a caption. Thanksgiving that year fell on 11 over 23. I had no idea a small date could close a whole era. I live in Denver. Product manager at a fintech startup. Too many tabs. Always on mute. My family's in Lancaster. Pennsylvania porches that lean. Holidays that smell like nutmeg and pine sol. I hadn't been home in 2 years. The distance wasn't just miles, it was the kind you carry in your chest when you laugh softer so someone else can laugh louder. Every gathering orbited my younger brother. Ryan, the golden child, charming, messy, always forgiven. I was the dependable one who double-knotted everything quiet. Steady. Invisible. For as long as I can remember. If something needed fixing, it was my hands on it and his name in the thank you. 2 weeks ago, Mom called with a cheer I hadn't heard since grade school. Sweetheart, please come home for Thanksgiving. Everyone's coming. Ryan and Kayla and the boys. Aunt Michelle. Even Grandpa Jim. We miss you. Her voice thinned. I know we haven't always given you what you needed. I just want us together. It disarmed me. My mother doesn't say sentences like that. I told myself it didn't matter. But a warm, foolish part of me uncurled. Maybe she meant it. Maybe something had shifted. I booked 2 tickets, me and my boyfriend. Owen, Southwest. $762 round trip. I texted Mom the itinerary and ordered dessert from her favorite place. August Bakery, 3 maple pecan tarts. $68 each. Pick up at 10 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day. She replied with a dozen hearts and a line that made me grin. This'll be our best Thanksgiving ever. To prove I believed, I overdid it. I paid a $140 deposit to rent a short-throw projector for a surprise video. I'd edited 30 years of home clips. I digitized on my own dime. 79 hours of work. I Venmo'd Dad $200 for groceries because turkey prices were wild this year. I ordered a navy sweater dress that wouldn't wrinkle in a carry-on. Practical hope. Zipped and folded. Ryan. Of course. Had the prime slot. We'll get to Mom and Dad early so the boys nap before dinner. He wrote in the family thread. Kayla added a photo of new pajamas for their toddlers. No one asked when I was landing. Habit. I pretended not to notice. If you want to understand our house, see the dining room hutch with glass doors. Inside the good plates and a squirrel-shaped mustard jar. Mom always called it the fancy condiment. It's funny until you know how often the jars mattered more than the person holding them. I should have known when she asked me to handle logistics and asked Ryan to just bring your smile. The pattern had tally marks across years. 2015. Ryan's first car got repossessed. I co-signed a high-interest refinance so he could keep his job. Simeon. 200 inches fees. You're so responsible. Honey. Mom said, he just needs a little stability. 2018 Kayla's boutique launch party shorted the caterer. I swiped my card for $1. 180, because it would be humiliating otherwise. Dad hugged me and whispered, family helps family. They mailed a glittery thank you. No repayment. 2020 shutdowns. Ryan's side hustle collapsed. He borrowed my old laptop and my Netflix login, then my login to the login. Because you changed the password again. That's cold. Nor, I also covered their electric bill twice. $312 in January, $289 in February, because the autopay glitched. Small cuts. Clean up their messes. Applaud their stories. Fade out before the photos. Still, I wanted to believe this invitation meant something different. I wanted to bring Owen into a room where I wasn't the cast-off aunt or the free tech support, but a daughter. He's the kind of man, parents like civil engineer, soft manners, steady, they'll love you. I told him, they love anyone who brings pie. We planned it like a minor operation. Fly Wednesday. Hotel instead of the house. Tarts at 10. Dinner at 2. Mom suggested we arrive around 1:30, so Ryan can settle the boys first. I joked about outsourcing tantrums. She laughed too hard and said, "Oh, Nora, you're funny when you want to be." Wednesday afternoon. I was rolling socks into my carry-on when my phone buzzed. A notification. Mom on Instagram. Of all places. She barely uses it. Mostly to like Kayla's posts. I opened the story out of habit. There they were. Mom. Dad. Ryan. Kayla. The kids. Aunt Michelle. Grandpa Jim. Gathered around the table, I grew up at the one with the heat scar from when I set down a soup pot without a trivet and got scolded for not respecting nice things. Candles. Matching sweaters. A board of cheese and figs we can't afford. Her caption. Over a boomerang of clinking glasses. Core 4 plus our circle. Rehearsal feast. Rehearsal. For what? The next slide. A professional photo on my parents' porch. The photographer tagged at Paige Sims' photo. Everyone smiling. My father's hand on Ryan's shoulder. The caption read, "The ones who keep this house standing." My face went hot. My chest went cold. The projector receipt sat open on my laptop. The tarts were paid for. The flights sat in my wallet app. And there was my family, practicing gratitude without me. Naming themselves the load-bearing beams. Is this a joke? I asked the room. Of course it didn't answer. Owen stepped out of the bathroom with a towel over his shoulder. You're pale. What happened? They did pictures. And dinner. Tonight. Without telling me. And the caption. I handed him the phone. He read it. Jaw tight. Core 4. It's always been 4 when I'm not convenient. Call your mom, he said gently. I didn't. I opened Southwest. The cancellation fee stung $200 total, but I clicked through like I was cauterizing a wound. I emailed the bakery to donate the tarts to a shelter across town. I canceled the projector and ate the $40 service fee. I stood very still and listened to the small, ugly part of me sigh with relief. The bigger part just ached. At 6:11 a.m. On Thanksgiving morning, 11:23, my phone started buzzing. First, a text from Mom. Where are you? Heading to the church at 11 for Dad's surprise. Vow renewal, you'll love it. Then the calls. 23 in the first hour. 14 more by noon. Ryan. Mom. Dad. Aunt Michelle. Kayla sent a selfie with a curvy arrow and the words "miss you," like an influencer apologizing to fans. I let it ring until the quiet felt mean. Then I answered. Mom's voice came tight and sweet, sugared with panic. Sweetheart, we've been so worried. The photographer asks if you're running late. We're doing a second round of family photos. Where are you? In the pause, an old muscle in me tried to flex the one that says forgive. Perform. Serve. But something steadier had taken its place. I thought about Dad's grocery reimbursement. Still pending. The projector deposit I'd never see. The squirrel-shaped mustard jar smiling from the hutch like a witness. I took a breath and said only 6 words. Ask your core 4 about it. Silence. Then the brittle laugh she uses when a cashier miscounts change. Don't be dramatic. Nora. I'm not. I said. I'm done. She inhaled. Sharp. After everything we planned. You planned. I said. You excluded. You captioned. Nora. She tried again. Softer now. The old hook, you're stronger. Your brother. There it is. I said, and my voice didn't shake. Happy Thanksgiving. Mom? I hung up. Owen didn't touch me. He stood near. Key it, like you do with a frightened animal learning. It can open its own cage. The phone lit again and again. I turned it face down. Outside. Denver was bright and thin with cold. The kind of blue that makes you think hard decisions are clean. They aren't. They're sticky. They sting. You still make them. What I didn't know yet, what none of them knew, was that the caption wasn't the worst part. The vow renewal had a price tag with my name on it. And someone had already signed it. I didn't cry. I made coffee. I watched the steam try to leave. At 7:02 a.m. My credit card app pinged. Pending $2. Sibei Arsher. 16 Old Mill Catering. My stomach dropped. Another ping. 688美元. 50 Lancaster Floral Co. One more. Time-stamped. Last night. 950美元. Null page Sims photo. The porch photographer. My name on every line. My card on every swipe. Thanksgiving that year was 11/23. The dates would matter. Owen saw my face go flat. He didn't ask if I was okay. Phone? Bank. No. I called the number on the back of my card. The hold music was aggressively cheerful. A calm rep came on. This is Kara. How can I help? My card's being used in Pennsylvania. I said. I live in Colorado. Those are not my charges. We went through the script. Yes. I had the physical card. No. He hadn't given my number out. She paused. I'm seeing Apple Pay tokens. Merchant used a saved device. The device nickname is Dad's iPad. RE. Of course. 4 summers ago, I added my card to their iPad to order groceries during lockdowns. We were on FaceTime. Mom couldn't figure it out. You're our tech whiz, she'd said. I never removed it. I should have known. Kara froze the card. We removed it from that device. She flagged 5 transactions, $2. Sibei Arsher. 16 catering. 688美元. 50 flowers. 950美元. 00 photo. And 2 smaller ones. I had missed $375. 00 for cedar and lace rentals. 1美元. Ling ling ling. 00 to Grace United Church. A neat round number. Gilt in clean font. Disputes take time. Kara said, I'll email affidavits. You'll confirm you did not authorize a family member. It was unauthorized. I said, whatever they tell you. I hung up. Owen slid a plate with toast toward me. Blackberry jam. Seeds and all. Scratchy and honest. The plate steadied me. I need proof. I said, not just bank logs. Vendors will talk to whoever paid, he said. I started with the florist. A woman answered on the second ring. Lancaster Floral. This is Bree. Hi. Bree. I'm calling about an order for Grace United today. Under Hart. The cardholder is Nora Hart. That's me. Oh, she brightened. The vow renewal. The mustard mums were your idea, brilliant with navy. We added eucalyptus at no charge. Your mom sounded stressed. Mustard. Always mustard. Could you email the invoice, I asked? For my records? Absolutely, she said. We have your Gmail from Apple Pay. My inbox chimed before we hung up. The PDF had my name, my Denver address, my phone. The notes column read, Client requested discreet billing. Surprise for Dad. Please do not ruin it. A soft slap. Next. The caterer. Old Mill Catering. This is Tasha. Hi. Tasha. I'm the cardholder for the Heart event. Right, she said. 46 plated meals. Turkey. Salmon. 2 vegan. Kids get butter noodles. Late headcount fee waived because of your donation to the church. Send the signed contract, I asked. Already did, she said. DocuSign to your address. It was in spam. I opened the audit trail. The signature was my name, pretending. The IP matched my parents' cable provider. The security question was, first pet's name, answer Clover. My 8th birthday dog. The one we buried without a marker because fuss is for other people. I forwarded everything to a new folder labeled Core 4. The name made my eyes sting. I called the church. A breathy volunteer answered. Grace United. Denise speaking. Hi. Denise. I'm confirming the $1,000 donation for the Heart Vow renewal. The receipt has my name. Yes, thank you, she said. Pastor Tom will bless you by name in the bulletin. Your mother insisted. Nora is making this possible. She said, we love when children honor their parents. I pressed my thumb into the table. Could you email the bulletin? She did. Clip art leaves. A verse on forgiveness. And under special thanks to our daughter Nora for sponsoring today's celebration. Sponsor, not daughter. Sponsor. On Instagram, the photographer had posted a flat lay at 643A. M. Navire bon. Lace swatch. Rings. And a note card in Mom's looping script. Today's the day. We celebrate what matters. Tagged at Nora Hart. I never saw that tag. It was a ghost account Mom made years ago to watch me when I locked her out. A blank circle with my name. A leash. Aunt Michelle texted next. So proud of you. Honey. What a gift. Your mom cried when she told us you insisted on paying. She finally sees how much we've done, she said. There it was. The shape of the lie, my card on their iPad, my name on their contract, their story dressed in gratitude. I called Mom. Voicemail. I called Dad. He picked up on the 3rd ring. Pumpkin. You used my card. I said. Flat. He sighed. We were going to talk after. It's a renewal. Not a wedding. Not a big deal. Your mother needed this. You charged $5. Sibai Sanchisan. Lu Shalo. I said. You signed my name. You told the church I insisted. I told them you're generous. He said. It's a compliment. It's theft. I said. It's fraud. Don't use words you don't mean. He snapped. We're family. We're family. I echoed. That's why you thought you could. He changed tactics. Your brother said he'd pay you back after his bonus in December. We have a plan. Of course. Ryan, you should have asked. I said. We did. he said, when you put your card on the iPad. We've never taken without giving back. In what ledger? I asked. Show me. Silence. Then, you can be so ungrateful, he muttered, and hung up. I stared at the call log. The part of me that begged for crumbs went quiet. The part that keeps receipts woke up. I opened a new note timeline. 11,950美元. 00. Page Sims photo deposit. 11,375美元. 00. Cedar and lace rentals. 22,11美元. Ling ling ling. 00 Grace United Church donation geteilt durch Booking. 22,688美元. 50 Lancaster Floral Co. 23,11美元. Sube Arsher. 16 Old Mill Catering Day of. I pasted every PDF. I added DocuSign's audit trail. Screenshots of the Core 4 post. If you zoomed the porch photo, you could see the squirrel-shaped mustard jar grinning from a windowsill like the house itself was in on the joke. Owen watched me build the file. What next? He asked. Stop the bleeding. I said, then tell the truth. Start with the photographer. He said, remove your card. Cancel any future use. Forces a conversation. I called the number on Paige's site. She answered bright. Happy Thanksgiving, Paige here. Hi. Paige. I'm the cardholder for the Hart family. Please remove my payment method immediately and confirm in writing that no further charges will be processed. Pause. Oh, is everything okay? Not really. I said, if my mother asks, tell her the cardholder canceled. She hesitated, then said softly, I saw the tag this morning. The account had no posts. I thought it was odd. Not my account. I said, nothing about this is mine. I understand. She said, I'll email confirmation. My phone buzzed. Ryan. I let it go to voicemail. His words had the tilt he used when he wanted my last slice of pizza. Nora. Tiny miscommunication. Chill. Okay, we love you. Mom's losing it. You know how she gets. Call me. We'll square up after Christmas. Promise. After the photos, after the posts, after the story hardened, I opened a new email. Subject unauthorized charge formal notice. To Mom and Dad. CC, Ryan and Kayla. Surgical. Dates. Amounts. Invoice. Apple Pay device removal. I will not attend today. I will dispute every charge. Do not contact my employer, my partner, or my friends. From now on, communicate in writing. I read it twice. I removed a line about the mustard jar. I hit send. Then I booked a one-way to Philadelphia. Tomorrow, 8:05 a.m. 219美元. Non-refundable. Not for a ceremony. Not for dinner. For the attic? For the boxes with my name and masking tape? Yearbooks. Clover's collar. Debat trophy. Proof I existed. Owen squeezed my hand. I'll come. You don't have to. I want to. Outside. Denver was bright and thin with cold. The kind of blue that lies and says hard choices are clean. They aren't. They're sticky. They sting. And you still make them. At noon, Mom posted a bouquet close-up. Mustard mums. Eucalyptus. The caption, grateful for the ones who show up. Comments flowed. Beautiful goals, Aunt Michelle wrote. And thanks to your generous girl. Nora Kayla added 3 hearts. My name. Again, as decoration, not invitation. I closed the app. I packed a small bag. I printed Kara's affidavits. I slid everything into a folder. What I didn't write in the email was simple. I wasn't done with them. I was done being theirs. There's a difference. One ends a story. The other starts one. Tomorrow, I'd step into a house that called me sponsor. Not daughter. I'd take what belonged to me. And I'd leave a different gift on the dining room table paper. Dates. Ink the kind you can't pose with. Can't post. And can't ignore. The airport at 6 a.m. felt like a waiting room for decisions. Stale coffee. Paper turkeys on glass. Owen and I didn't talk much. He handed me a granola bar. I handed him the affidavits. We moved like a team. On the plane, I drafted messages I didn't send. One to Grandpa Jim. One to Aunt Michelle. Delete. Delete. I kept one line in my notes. We tell the truth once. Then we leave. Philadelphia was pale and cold. The rental car smelled like lemon wipes. Lancaster sat an hour. West brown fields. A God is Good billboard with chipped paint. The sign for Grace United. The lot was full. Good. They were busy blessing a story. My parents' street was quiet. Maple bare. The blue house, smaller than memory. The porch still had the third board creak. A wreath with navy ribbon on the door. I used my key. The lock stuck. Then gave. Cinnamon and polish. The dining room was staged like a catalog. Gold rim plates. Place cards in pretty loops. Mine too, Nora, anchored with a sprig of eucalyptus. A seat for the sponsor, in case the sponsor changed her mind. The squirrel-shaped mustard jar sat smug in the center. The spotlight finds it every time. I stood there too long. My mother has taste. She can make ugly things look gentle. Where Owen asked, "Attic." The attic stairs sighed. My bins were in the back. Labeled in Mom's careful block letters, Nora Books. Nora School. Nora Misk. I cracked the first one. Yearbooks. Debate medals. A shoebox of notes that smelled like middle school gum. I slipped Clover's worn red collar into my coat pocket. Then paused. The metal tag still had our address. No phone number. When I turned 8, Mom said a landline was too much noise. The second bin held the dented camcorder and a stack of mini DV tapes. Good. I'd spent nights digitizing these. Proof the past happened. Owen hauled bins while I checked one last box. Under packing paper, a blue binder, house files. Emergency contacts. Warranties. Password hints. I flipped until a page titled Apple Stuff. In Mom's hand iPad Dad email. Nora card. Netflix Nora. DoorDash Nora. Nora card underlined twice. Not an accident. A system. I photographed the pages and put the binder back where I found it. I'm not a vandal. I'm a witness. 2 trips to the car. The street stayed still. A wind chime clicked once. My hands only shook sorting tiny things, a cocoon of Girl Scout buttons. My dorm key. A cracked snow globe from the D. C. Trip. It's always the small that hurts. When the car was full, I went back for one last look. The house held its breath. I took the folder from my tote timeline. Envoys. Affidavits. The formal notice, and added one handwritten page. Effective today. I revoke all permission to use my name, accounts, devices, or identity for any purchase, contract, donation, or representation. This includes Apple Pay, DocuSign, church bulletins, social tags, and family lore. The disputed charges will proceed. Any further attempt will be reported. Repayment terms are attached. All communication in writing. No triangulation. I am your daughter. I am not your sponsor. Nora. I set the folder at Mom's seat. Then I left the mustard jar where it sat and looped Clover's collar around its neck. The red leather against yellow ceramic. The tag gave a small, bright clink. A bell for a ghost. Owen's steps were soft on the hallway rug. Ready? Almost. In the living room. The TV perched on the Apple TV home screen. My mother's ghost account had a fresh notification photo share from Paige. 8 thumbnails from last night's porch shoot. I didn't open them. I signed out of every app with my name. Netflix. DoorDash. Amazon. Old habits. Old leaks. Close. 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 Under church newsletters on the coffee table, I found the vow renewal program. Thick cream cover. Inside the order of service. A poem about chosen love. And a line that knocked the air out of me, song the ones who truly matter. Theme complete. A brand rollout. I put it back. On a sticky note. I wrote 1 sentence and stuck it to the folder. You get to tell your story. I get to tell mine. We were locking the door when the Buick pulled up. Grandpa Jim. Slow and steady. Aunt Michelle in a bright scarf. They froze when they saw us. Aunt Michelle recovered first. You came, she said. Voice high with surprise. Honey, you look thin. I'm fine. The easiest lie I know. Grandpa walked around the hood like the world had time. He studied my face. Then Owen's. Then the bins in the car. He nodded once. You taking your things. His voice still held Ohio. Even after years in Pennsylvania. Yes. Just mine. He glanced at the house. Your mother's at the church making the poinsettias face out. Your father's practicing his vows in the mirror. He keeps smoothing his hair. I left a letter. I said. Aunt Michelle's mouth opened and closed. She stared at the welcome mat like it might have instructions. Your mother said you sponsored the whole day. She blurted. Winced at her own words. And softened. She was proud. My laugh was short. She was careful. Nora, Grandpa said gently, you want me to stand with you when you tell them. I'm not telling them twice. He nodded like a man agreeing with gravity. All right. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small brass key on a green tag. I rented a storage unit last year. We clear our junk every winter. Take the key. If you don't want to haul these to Denver yet, park them there. Unit 2, 14. I paid through February. The key clicked in my palm next to Clover's tag. Metal greeting metal. Thank you. Aunt Michelle dug in her purse. Produced a folded 20. Laughed at herself. Put it back. She hugged me instead. Laundry and peppermint gum. Text me when you're safe. I nodded. Grandpa squinted toward the house. When your mother was 9, she sold her best marble to buy a card for her teacher. Thought the class would be noticed if the card was nice enough. He looked at me. It didn't work. She never forgot. I'm not a marble. I know, he said. She forgot. We pulled away as the church bells started. Noon. The vow renewal hour. Owen turned left. Then right toward the highway. In the mirror, the blue house shrank to a smudge. My phone buzzed. A new number. This is Paige. Your mom says you're confused. Do you still want the digitals delivered today? I typed deliver to the email on file. Remove any tags. Note that the cardholder canceled future charges. She replied with a single heart. Smart? Another buzz. Ryan. What did you do? Mom is shaking. Dad's gray. You need to come back now. We can hide the receipts. Fix the post. Say the florist comped it. You always make a mess bigger. Turn around. I typed one sentence. Check the dining table. Then I blocked him. We stopped at the storage facility on the edge of town. Beige building. Humming. Unit 2. 14 smelled like dust and chalk. We slid my bins into a corner. Owen labeled the tag with a Sharpie. The manager lent him. Our names looked solid there. A place that wasn't borrowed. In the car. Email stacked up. Bank affidavits received. Caterer chargeback notice client dispute. Church. Forwarded by Denise Clarification Responsorship. She added a line that made me smile. Blessings on your boundaries. I wanted it printed on a dish towel. We checked into a cheap hotel off Route 30. Waffle maker in the lobby. I set the folder on the desk. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. Clean stings first. Then you breathe. At 3:17 p.m., Grandpa called. She read it. He said, "No hello." She tried to say the printer lied. Your father stared at the mustard jar until I thought he'd crack it with his eyes. Ryan said a word I won't repeat. Kayla cried. The pastor found me a chair. And your mother is deciding whether her pride is worth American Express calling her next week. A pausa? She'll call tonight. Or she won't. But she heard you. I swallowed. The collar. She put it in her pocket. He said, voice soft. She touched the tag like it knew her name. We were quiet. Then he asked, You want me to stop by the hotel? No. Thank you. He hesitated. Tell Denise I like the towel sentence. He chuckled. Blessings on your boundaries. He repeated. Like a benediction. Sleep if you can. I lay on the ugly floral bedspread and stared at the popcorn ceiling. Owen lay beside me. Our shoulders not quite touching. The AC clicked on like a distant train. I thought it would feel like burning a bridge. I said, What does it feel like? Like building a door. I said, With a lock I can open. He slid his palm over mine. That tracks. Evening fell early. We ate diner eggs and pie because I wanted pie anyway. Blackberry. Seeds and all. Honest. 2 teenagers in paper hats argued over a playlist. A little girl spun in a sparkly dress until her dad laughed and said, Okay. Enough? Back at the hotel. I set the storage key and Clover's tag on the nightstand. Metal on plastic. A tiny clink. Steady and true. At 9:41 p.m. A knock rattled the door. 3 fast taps. Then 2. Owen looked at me. We weren't expecting anyone. I checked the peephole. The hallway was a stripe of yellow light and patterned carpet. No one in view. Then her voice soft. Sugared. Practiced. Nora, it's Mom. Open up. Sweetheart. We need to talk like family. I kept the chain on. Owen stood to my left. Phone aimed at the carpet. He tapped voice memos and nodded. Mom, I said through the crack. We talk with the chain on. Calm voices. No touching. If anyone else is here, they leave. A thin pause. I'm alone. She said, syrup over gravel. Let me see you. I opened 3 inches. Navy coat. Puffy eyes. Lipstick perfect. In her right hand, my father's program. In her left, Clover's collar. She held it like it might bite. Please, she whispered. People are staring. It's a motel? I said. They've seen worse. I slid the chain free and stepped back. Owen stayed by the desk. She came in small. No perfume. Just cold air and church flowers. Her gaze swept the room and landed on my folder. She swallowed. You made a scene. I left document. I said, that's not a scene. That's clarity. She set the program on the dresser. You humiliated me in front of God and our family. You humiliated yourself with my card and my name. Her jaw tightened. It was a vow renewal. 4 hours. Not a crime. You forged a signature. That's a felony. It was DocuSign. Still a signature. I said, it says I authorized. I didn't. She flinched. Lower your voice. I'm speaking normally. I pointed at the chair. She sat. The collar clicked against the wood. A metronome for this talk. Owen shifted, then stilled. She clocked him. You, she said. You don't know our history. I know enough, he said. Even. I'm here to keep time. She focused on me. You hurt your father. He practiced his vows all week. He wanted you in the front row. You wanted the sponsor in the front row. I said, it reads better. You think everything is PR? You make everything PR. I said, you tagged a ghost account with my name. Her eyes flickered. Kayla set that up. Paige tagged it from your phone. I said, I have the screenshot. And the binder. Apple stuff. Nora card twice. She folded her hands. Pale pink nails. Not a chip. We were going to tell you, she said. When? After the photos. So after the post hardened. I said, after the grateful comments. After the story was safe. She studied the carpet pattern. I needed it perfect. For who? For me? She said. Almost a whisper. Then louder. For us? You have a us. I said, it's in your caption. That was a joke. Typed by you. Sent by you. Paid by me. She looked at Owen like he might translate me into someone softer. He didn't. I brought terms. I said, placing a copy of the repayment plan on the table. You saw them. I did, she said. They were cold. They were math. I slid over a pen. Sign. We'll call it a loan. Wire and dollars. 500 by Monday, 5 p.m. The rest in 2 monthly payments. Post a correction tonight. Remove every tag with my name. Delete the ghost account. And text the family thread one sentence. We used Nora's card without permission. Then we start fresh. With boundaries. She stared at the pen like it might turn snake. That would kill your father. Truth doesn't break families, I said. Secret do. You always talk like a judge. I talk like the person who paid your bills. She lifted her chin. We paid for your braces. Grandpa did, I said. Send me one. Lube. I have the bank image. You told him it was for the roof and used my scholarship refund for paint. Her mouth opened and closed. Who told you that? He did. I said. Today. Color rose in her cheeks. He's old. He misremembers. Mom. I leaned forward. Stop. Silence pulled up a chair. New angle. Ryan is drowning. She said. The boys? The mortgage. Kayla's store. He needed this day to feel like winning. You can afford it. You make. What do you make? Not your business. We are your business. She said. We made you. You raised me. I said. You don't own me. She touched the collar. I kept this safe all these years. No, I said. You put it in a box with no name and called that strength. Don't moralize it. She snapped. You left. You ran to Denver and came back with rules. I came back with receipts. She looked at the plan again. Shoulders dropped. I can do $1. Wube, she said. Your father can move some things. The rest will take time. 2 months. I said. She nodded. Fine. And the post? Fear flashed quick and real. They will devour me. They'll say I stole from my own child. You did, I said. She shook her head, as if I'd spoken another language. No, we borrow. In our family, money floats. It's how we survive. You always pretended you were above that. I pretended I was safe. I said, different thing. A knock hit the door. Hard. Then again. Ryan. Open up. He barked, Mom. Move. My mother's eyes begged. Don't. I checked the peephole. Ryan's yaff looked like he'd sheed glass. Kayla behind him. Mascara stiff. A manager hovered at the elevator. I cracked the door 2 inches. This isn't a family meeting. I said, leave. He leaned so hard the chain bit. You ruined today. Mom is sick. She's in my room. I said, calm, talking. You turned the church into a courtroom. He spat. You live for drama. You live on my card. He snared. You owe us. We covered you in college. Scholarships covered me. I said, and Grandpa. I glanced at Mom. She stared at the bedspread. Kayla. I said, level. Go home. She blinked. You're cold. My boys adore you. I adore them. I said, this isn't about them. Ryan slapped the jam. The manager finally walked over. Sir, he said. Low? Stand down or I call the police. Ryan laughed once. Call. My sister loves cops. I closed the door. The chain rattled. The manager's murmur moved them down the hall. My mother kept her eyes on the pen. They'll hate me. She whispered. They already do. I said gently, when you don't give them what they want. She looked up. Old hurt flashed. Then gone. You always find the ugliest way to say a thing. I find the truest way, I said. She reached for the pen. Stopped. One change. She said. I'll pay. I'll post. But I won't say stole. I'll say mistake. It wasn't a mistake. I said. Her eyes were glass. Let me have mistake and I'll do the rest. I thought about the audience. The comment section that raised me. The towel sentence blessings on your boundaries. Sometimes a compromise is a boundary with a hinge. Fine. I said. Use unauthorized. End quote. She exhaled like a valve opened. She signed. The script wobbled but held. She pushed the paper back. Now the post. I said, hands shaking. She opened Facebook her stage and typed, slow, update on today. She read, in the rush of planning, we made unauthorized charges to our daughter's account. We are correcting it and repaying her. Grateful for accountability and the chance to do better. Family is learning. She looked at me. Add, please do not harass her. I said. She added it. She hit post. Her thumb hovered like it wanted a different life. Then she set the phone down like it weighed a brick. Delete the ghost account. I said. She winced. You saw that? I did. Tap. Hold. Delete. Gone. Remove my card from the iPad. I said. I did. She said. Your email said the bank froze it. I'll verify. Silence again. Not heavy. Just new. She rubbed Clover's tag with her thumb. I shouldn't have put her in the yard without a marker. She said. Almost to herself. I thought you needed me to be strong. I confused strong with cold. She blinked. I'm sorry for that. My throat burned. 4 words I'd waited years to hear. Spoken about a dog the size she could hold. Thank you, I said. Her phone buzzed. Notifications exploded. Comments. Shares. A text from Aunt Michelle Proud. Of you both. One from Grandpa then. Good sentence. Then Kayla. To Mom. We need to talk about the store card before Nora sees it in Credit Karma. I lifted my eyes. My mother's face went slack. Too late to hide. I opened the message. Which store card, I asked. Her mouth opened. Closed. Target, I said. Or the TLC line on your spreadsheet. I'd photographed that page. She flinched. That told me enough. Target. Maybe more. Answer. I said. Kayla set it up. She whispered. During the shutdown. We meant to change it to us because the discount, I let out a short, hard laugh. You opened a card with my information for 5%. She stood. Don't say opened. Say added. It felt like adding, we meant to tell you. Of course you did. I said. After the photos. Another knock. Softer. A man's silhouette. Not Ryan. My father. Nora. He said through the door. Let me in. Pumpkin. I didn't move. I looked at my mother. She looked at the pen like it could write us out. Next. I said. Eyes on her. Voice steady. We talk about the cards. All of them. Tonight. She nodded. Small. Once. Then. I said. Nodding at the door. He can come in. I slid the chain back in place. I breathed. I turned the knob. Dad stepped in like the room might tip. Gray suit. Telos. Church program bulging his pocket. He smelled like cold air and coffee. Ground rules. I said. We sit. We don't shout. We keep our hands to ourselves. We tell the truth the first time. He looked at Mom. Then at Owen. Then at me. You sent the whole church into a tailspin. You sent my credit into one. I said, pointing at the chair. He sat. His knees cracked. He looked surprised at his own body. Mom slid the repayment plan across the table. I signed. She said,